Hi guys, welcome to Parking with Parks. My name is Parks Mvimbi and I'm your host for the show. This is where things happen automatically. There's nothing that is as beautiful as parking your car after a beautiful car wash and you walk away and when you look back and you smile and it returns the favor. What we do with our cars is so much amazing. So this is our second installment of the show, and we hope you guys are going to enjoy it. And I will urge you that you should hit the like button and also the subscribe button. So today on the show, we're going to be talking about sports cars and men. Because if you remember in our previous installment, we were talking about mom's taxis. Now it's time for guys to express themselves in terms of their sports cars, but being family men as well. So they are such cars. So before we even continue, I'd like to acknowledge our sponsor, which is NK Car Wash. It's an upmarket car wash that has various activities going on. They have a salon, they have a barber shop, they have a place where you can buy some eats while you're waiting, and a play area for the kids. So it's an all-rounder type of environment. That is why we chose to use it as an environment, and we just like to acknowledge them. They're also giving a free car wash for the participants on the show. So to move on now, we're just going to introduce our guests on the show, and I will do the usual and ask them to introduce themselves and also tell us a little bit about their background and why they love cars and why they agreed to be on the show. So, gents, we have Upral Siva, who's going to tell us more about himself.
Yeah, sure. Kile Siva, thanks for the invite, Brapax. So I'm really looking forward to great conversations, and let's see how it goes.
All right.
Sure.
And then we have Upra AB, who's the friend of the show. I'm sure you're going to see more of him from time to time. He was part of our premiere show, but he's going to introduce himself for those of you who are not able to see the other show. Right,
Thanks, Propax. My name is AB. Lisiva and I come from one place.
Mm-hmm.
We meet every Saturday if we can, just to talk about, cars, washing cars, different tire brands, So I also happen to be a lover of Formula One. I love cars. I love reading about them. I wish I had them.
Of course.
Wish I had money.
Don't we all?
So we're looking forward to enjoying the show, Pax.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Chance. So today, like I said, we're talking about sports cars. And I would like to think that, it's funny that you should say you meet every Sunday. By the way, AB and Lesiva are my neighbors. We live in the same complex. So when I walk my kids, I normally see them washing their cars, and I can see that these guys, I need to have them on my show because they seem to love their cars. They drive similar cars. And one day I took a shot and said, look, guys, can we have a chat? What is going on here? Why are you having this, type of a setup? And then we started having a conversation, which is why I wanted to bring it on the show. Funny enough, the cars that they're driving are super, super nice cars, very fast. So that's where we're going to start. Maybe they can, tell us individually first what cars they're driving and why they bought the cars, and then maybe we can just flow from there. And we just have an interactive type of a show. And if you have any comments, do please comment on the comments section, because some of the questions I'm going to be asking them are going to be questions that I'm going to be asking you as our viewers. So I'm going to start with Brother Siva. What car do you drive?
It's a BMW E93. You know what, the reason I went for that car, like, look, it's it's even though it's a two-door car, but like, it's got enough space for, like for the kids, So
Okay.
there's enough leg room even at the back, So it's a very comfortable car. It's got a bigger engine. It's not turbocharged and all of that. It's it naturally aspirated. So it makes a very nice sound. So Amy
Yeah.
knows all about it. But yeah, so it's one of those cars that you look for in the market, and once you get an opportunity to get it, you go for it if you can. So and that's how I actually went for it. So yeah.
So would you say as a sports car, I imagine if it's a drop down, is it and then is that kind of engine that you're talking about? It's a sports car.
Yeah, so look, I mean, the term sports cars, it also depends on how
It's
you
relative,
say it, right?
yes,
Exactly.
yes,
So,
yeah.
because think about it this way, like, most of us when we buy cars, we buy cars that are multi-purpose, so it's not necessarily just for the speed or just for the car to look nice, but you also think about your family. You think about yourself, or what do you enjoy in a car, and also you get people's experiences. So you go online and you talk to people like Brian AB here. They'll tell you, like, I mean, what their experiences have been, and you end up making that decision. So for me, it fulfills whatever it need. I have. For instance, if I wanna just use it to drive kids to school, I drive it. It's a decent car, but on a weekend, just take a drive out and push it a little bit here and there, and it also comes into that, and it really does. It does well, yeah.
So it says it's a dynamic model. So because the reason why I call this show Sportsmen with Family Men is because back in the day, the cars that when you hear the sound, when the dad starts the car, you know that is going alone or with his wife. So I imagine that car is not that kind of a car. It's like that if you want to,
Yes.
but if there are times where you want to take family, it's also dynamic in that way.
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I imagine this E93 is not a road. It's not a roadster. It's a normal drop down.
It's a normal drop down. Yeah, it's a normal drop down. So yeah, it's a very nice car to drive. It's more nicer when you're driving on the highways or longer distances. It's not really.
It's a road car.
Yeah, it's a nice road car. But I mean, if you're gonna be driving around, with lots of traffic lights and everything, it's not really the car for that. You're not gonna really enjoy it.
Tell us more about that. Why do you say?
Look, there's a number of factors, right? So the first factor is that the consumption of the fuel consumption in the car is quite high.
Okay. Yeah.
And the second part is that, look, it's because it's not really a turbocharged car, so it really takes a bit of time to build up the power, but it's just suited for a bit longer distances and all of that. But you can still drive it, like nothing wrong, like So like I see a lot of people driving similar cars around, so not necessarily the same car, but like cars in the same, I would say, in the same space, if I want to put it that way. Yeah, exactly.
So, Brian, I saw you guys were parking there. You have a similar car. And I'm sure you have your own views about, maybe first you can tell us about your car and what your experience is compared to Lisiba's experience, and maybe a few pointers when it comes to, this particular vehicle that you own.
Yeah, thanks. As a disclaimer, I think he also said it, or we're not going to be literal in a literal sense of sports cars.
Yeah,
we're not going to worry about that and be slaves to the meanings of words, because sports is something else. So we're gonna talk about sports, whatever we think it means to us.
Thank you.
Parks, I want to acknowledge Siba's car. I love that rendition naturally aspirated. I love that car. He knows why I love it. I used to have it. I used to have it in a smaller version.
Would you like to share with us what you love about it?
The sound. He knows
Okay.
every
Yeah,
time. I can't walk past his house
Yes. So
without asking him to start the engine,
Yes,
so that I
yes.
want to hear
Yeah.
the 195 kilowatts, beast coming to life. I love the sound of that thing. They're becoming extinct. You need to take care of that car,
Definitely, no,
my
definitely.
brother.
Yeah.
Because if you look around on the road, you don't see many of those anymore. I know it's heavy on fuel, and also on mass. Look, you're not gonna compare it to modern day efficient cars, but Parks, the feeling that he has in that car,
No, look, it's one.
it's great.
It's
Yeah.
great.
It's great.
Nah,
It's great.
it's one of those cars. I mean, like, it's not obviously in the same range as the C63, the original C63s, but those cars with, I mean, the C63 was special. Like,
You get that feeling.
yeah, no, like,
So, maybe what are you driving?
I knew you were going to pin me down to this.
Because now I'm going somewhere with this. But
F30,
just indulge me.
F30,
Yes.
F30. I'm taking after him. I'm trying to copy him. F30, 3 Series. So 3
Three
Series
what?
BMW. It's a. I want to think where we living, where we staying. It's a. Which one can I use? It's a popular. BMW is popular. You go to the car wash. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll be hard pressed
Right.
getting in there and come out and not see a
Yes.
BMW. So it's a lovely brand.
Okay, so I'm going to take you down memory lane a little bit. I know my experience with the very ever BMW ever, encountered. But it's not about me. This is not my show. It's your show. So, what is the very, very first 3 Series? Well, I can see you guys are driving 3 Series. Which was the very first one that made an impression on you? Or when you decided to buy a 3 Series, was it just a coincidence, or is it based on that very first one that you really, really, really loved?
For me, I would say it was coincidence. I wouldn't say, like, I was like really crazy about a specific. Even now, I'm not really that crazy about specific cars. I enjoy this particular car that I drive now, but don't be surprised one day
You rock up with something else.
if I rock up with something else. I mean, if the budget allows, I'm not restricted, so I will. But yeah, so for me, to answer your question, it was just coincidence. And yeah, so when I drove the first one, the first one was an E90 320i, but it was a bit slow. So, and it was a manual transmission, so it was just not nice to drive, especially in traffic. But one thing I must say though is that the maintenance on these cars, like, if you just take care of it, there's pretty much nothing to worry about. It takes care of you. Like, you basically just service the car and you forget about it. I mean, couple the fact that most of these cars are run flat tires. Run flat tires can go 3-4 years without being changed. So like, the maintenance on these cars. Yeah, when it goes out of motor plan, it is a bit expensive, but it lasts. For a longer period. But for me, that was the deciding factor to where I ended up now. Yeah.
So now, piggybacking on that fact, the after motor plan life of this specific brand, BMW, how easy is it? Because I know that the newer brands, you struggle a little bit, but because BMW has a longer lifespan, and it's been in the country for quite a bit. Do you agree with the fact that even after the motor plan, it's something that is easily maintainable?
I'll think yes. I'll think yes. I remember the one series that I had, it was involving an accident a few years back.
Yes.
It had done, by then, it had done 287,000.
Wow.
You can imagine how many years it had been out of
motor plan, yes.
maintenance plan when it got involved in an accident. So, coming back to your question about maintenance after they go out of parks, I'm a firm believer that if you take care of the car, if you look after it, if you drive it like you respect it, if you service it when it has to be serviced, I don't think it will really, throw you out of balance per se. I mean, for example, with that 130 I was driving at the time, I had a guy who was a technician at BMW. Now that the car was no longer under maintenance plan, I'll go to BMW, buy a service kit, go to my brother, and he will, service the car.
Service thing, yeah.
Yeah. So a driver behavior for me is the single most important thing in the longevity of any car.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which
Doesn't
brand
matter.
it is, but you look after it, it is ultimately going to look after you.
So, Chance, we're going to change gears a little bit now.
Sure.
We're going to have fun because we've been talking serious stuff here.
Yeah.
Have you ever named your car?
No.
No.
Nah, but I don't name cars.
No.
Really?
Nah.
No.
Nah. Like there are specific people who do
Not,
that.
not even your...
Nah.
Okay. Next question. I don't want to talk. I've named literally... My first car, I had to name my first
Yeah.
car. Really,
There are special people who do that, so you are in that category.
I know, that car... I really have to... I had to name it because, okay... Let's move on. 'Cause I used to call it John 14.
Okay. Sure.
When I overtake you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right, but then, but do you attach any sentiment to a car? Let's say you go back in history, your first car, even if it was not a BMW, just the one feeling that it made you, that gave you the sense of worth to say, I've arrived. Now I have my...
For me, no, not really. But it's just any car that I drive at that moment, I just take care of it. I appreciate it. But I don't really, don't really get stuck in sentiment and all of that. But like, even if you give me a Nissan now and to drive, I'll really take care of it, and I'll make sure it's washed at least once a week. I'll service it nicely and all of that. So, but I don't really, hold any significant sentiments around cars. Nah, not really. But obviously, there will always be those moments that you link it to when you are driving a particular car. For instance, like say when your kid was born in a specific year and you were driving that car, things like that. Yeah, so those are the only things that would make you remember, okay, actually at that time I was driving this kind of car and all of that.
But what feeling do you get when you get that when you remember that? Is it...
Yeah, look, it also depends, because sometimes when you have a car, you'll have horror stories, so it's not always great.
No, it's fine. I mean, look,
yeah,
everything goes here. I mean, we're parking here.
Yeah,
we're parking with parks.
Yeah, so yes. I guess it depends. It depends.
It depends.
Yeah, because I mean, if you've had a car and you've had to sleep somewhere on the road, you're not gonna have like some nice moments about it.
But it's a story nonetheless.
Exactly, it's a story. Yeah.
Maybe as we move along after AV comes in, we can
Yeah, yeah.
go to those war stories. Because
Funnily, I am sentimental to his car. I love his car. The day he wakes up and comes to me and said he had sold that 330 naturally aspirated, I'll be sad on his behalf. So, so it's I don't know, because he said he doesn't have a specific sentiment to. He doesn't attach a specific sentiment to a car. So I'll do that on his behalf. I'll be very sad with you, my brother. I'll be very sad with you. The day you walk up to me and tell me that you have sold that 330 naturally aspirated, it's a lovely car. So I just love it.
I can see that this friendship is very solid. So, because you've already mentioned that you're driving literally the same cars, the other one is, there's just technical differences. Does it mean anything for your friendship? Does your friendship hinge upon the type of car you drive, or you were friends before?
Actually, it's the other way around. We began friends before, only to realize that, okay, my friend is in this car and I like the car. So the friendship gets to be, much more accentuated. It's not like a car now has to determine
your friendship.
Exactly, and determine who you should befriend.
Yeah, of course.
No, it is the other way around.
Okay.
I meet you, Parks, and Parks is driving a Porsche, and because you are my friend, I will end up driving your car. Exactly.
Okay. So, when it comes to advertising, I'm sure you see a lot of cars are being advertised and all that. Which one stands out for you in terms of either the brand that you're driving or other brands? Does it have any?
You mean?
The BM flighted the thing, and on the same stretch of the road, and the BMW was driving, and then it survived. It didn't get into an accident. And then says, sometimes it's nice to drive a car that beats the Benz. Now the Benz is not the car, it is the Benz. Chipman's Peak.
Okay.
And it's quite interesting how it was really done, because by the time guys went to court on Monday, they pulled it.
Imagine it is the evening of October the 14th, 1988. Imagine you are Christopher White driving home. You're extremely tired and not watching the road properly. Doesn't it make sense to drive a luxury sedan that beats the Benz?
Owning cars should be fun. Yes. And part of the fun comes with responsibility. And one of the things that we're trying to get to do in this show is to share some of these nice sentiments and all that, but also have a takeaway that we can give to the new drivers or the new car owners or the owners that are still trying to get into the market. And maybe through our stories, we're able to, give them something to say, hey, don't do what Lisiba did with this car, or, such things, So, in your own words, what are the things that we'd like to tip the young drivers, whether male or female, or even young ones who are getting into the into the buyer's market? Maybe we'll start with you, Natal.
Yeah, maybe before I jump on that, Parks,
Yes.
you said something which I felt was significant. I need to just
touch on that.
yeah before
Yeah.
You said the fact that you might be driving a particular model now
Yes.
doesn't stop you from loving
The next one.
the next one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Functionality Parks. It's ironic you're asking me this because even with my first car, I didn't look at this thing. I didn't.
You did mention that in the first episode. Yes.
Maybe this is because I don't know, man. There was a sense that I was just going to fall in love with the technical specs, the gizmos, the kilowatts, the Formula Ones, the Newton meters, and so on. So, but let's come back to the real world, where there is a young AB here that needs to buy a car. Number one, what do you want to do with the car? Do you need to move from? Do you need to, travel, from here down the road, which is just here. So obviously, if you're gonna get a high cc cubic centimeter car, it's not going to do the purpose, because the fuel consumption will be high and also maintenance will be high. It's not practical. So look for what will work for you. What do you want to do with the car? What do you want in a car? Do you need to drive 50 k's every day, for example? If you're gonna drive 50 k's every day, obviously you're gonna look at the car that is easy to maintain, a car that is easy. What do I mean easy to maintain? Not only oil change, but also the tires, fuel consumption, and comfort. You also have to ask yourself, do you need, what transmission do you need? Do you need an old racers boys manual, or do you need an automatic car? So I think these are the practical questions that a young buyer or a new buyer, not a young buyer, a new buyer should really ask themselves. Are they living in a place where they are gonna get stuck in traffic? They need to factor that in, because obviously fuel efficiency is gonna be another thing, Although I know that a driver behavior is going to impact on the fuel efficiency, but there are cars that do not will not serve the purpose for which they are bought.
I'm 25. I've graduated. You're my dad. Now I have this job with X company, and the salary is alright. I want that GTI, bruh. I want to show up. Huh? What do you say, Daddy?
No, a GTI 50, you always just go for it. No, you'll never go
I'm your son now.
I'm just being honest.
I'm your son now. I'm saying, Dad.
It's...
Here's this thing.
Like I said, the VW group, the Audis, those guys are nice. A GTI is a very nice car.
Yes.
And I can tell you, you'll be sitting in that car, you won't really...
So you'll approve me?
Look, if I were to give someone honest advice, not really, depends, right? So I always say, look, obviously look at your needs. And if you look at the world today, a lot of things have changed. So some people are now working from home. So, that fuel consumption thing might no longer be a big issue anymore. So you can actually afford to get a car with, high maintenance, high fuel consumption, because you probably drive it only on the weekend. So, things have changed a bit. But I think for me, I always say, look, do your own research. Talk to people who have driven cars before, but also just go online. check for, depending on what kind of a car you're getting, check for like common problems. How expensive are those problems? Those common problems.
Yes,
You
yes,
know.
So,
yeah.
would you, let's say your son was what, 19 or 21, 22, graduated, he can afford, comes to you and say, Dad, I want to buy a GTI, and you can see that, this boy is in it for speed. Will you let him really?
Look, I mean, if it is money, look, I mean, I don't have a problem.
Classic response.
Wouldn't you want him to start with Apollo diesel so that he can, get to, control the power just a bit? Because I mean, a new drivers, for example, when they get into a GTI, they do to GTI what they know GTI can do.
Yeah,
They
but
want
I
to
mean,
flow it.
but I mean, you obviously assuming that look, he's got the basics right, like in terms of driving, he's got the right guidance and all of that. Obviously, you have to factor all of those things, but I mean, we all, like these cars are expensive, like. The cars are really expensive today, but at the same time, if someone is working for their money, I think it's only fair that they spend their money the way they want to. Yeah, because some people like to go on holidays, like they would, they don't even rent a car. Like they will save up everything and make sure that every 3 months they go on a decent holiday.
Because the passion is travel.
But some people are passionate about cars. So, and what's the point of not really getting something that makes you happy? If you can afford it. I mean, the most important thing is if you can afford it. And when it comes to affordability, you know what you can afford. The bank will tell you that you can afford this, but no, that's not true. That's not true affordability. True affordability is what you know you can afford.
So Lisiva, with boys being boys, let's say your son is 21, 23, I'm sure it's a cliche now. We've used it so many times. And you know that boys are going to be boys. You said, obviously, it depends on the fact that he's been guided well and stuff. But boys will always be boys. So will you let him study in a GTI?
No, I don't have a problem. If I'm not paying for it,
so nature is the best teacher.
Look, experience is the best. That's what I'm saying. The most important thing is just guidance.
I like this discussion because none of us here are innocent as youngsters. So maybe each one must get his own scars.
I'm telling you.
But like I said, better make those mistakes with information than without information. Because remember, we used to look for information. Now information comes to our kids by watching shows such as these and maybe other shows. So my point is that it's important for us to have that kind of interaction with them to say, look, try this 335. Let's see how you go before we go to that dealership, and then maybe you can, sort of test yourself. For example, my dad drove a lot of 6 cylinders, and he was not holding back in terms of letting us drive and all that. And for me, that really, really helped to mold the kind of a driver that I became. I made my mistakes, like everyone else, but I think we should not stop there in terms of talking about it on YouTube, on Parking with Parks. Maybe we should have a segment where we can even invite the youngsters, then they can tell us,
yeah, of course,
the viewpoint. I don't know, guys, you can tell us on the comment section if we should do such a segment where we can have the young brothers and sisters telling us their own experiences, because we'll find that we are reading from an old hymn book. Only to find that the guys probably know. Yes, they know more than us. No,
things have changed.
Things have really changed.
Things have evolved.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that maybe this is a starting point for a platform where every motorist, whether it's an old, grandma who drives a Honda, they like this Honda Palace things, or even a young girl who's starting out, she's getting a first car. So we want to look at that from a driver's point of view. That's the main reason for my show. I'm not trying to be technical or anything. I just want to tell the story from a driver's point of view.
Sure.
How we behave towards the whole motoring.
Yeah.
So for that, guys, I really want to emphasize. So before we conclude the show, do you have one or two words that you want to give to the old driver, the new driver, or fellow driver out there? Maybe I can start with you, my friend.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing I can say, like, especially when you're going through the process of getting a car, so
Yes,
also depends what kind of a car you're looking for. I mean, for instance, like you mentioned earlier, if you're gonna be driving every day, longer kilometers, and you need something reliable,
Yes.
it might not be a bad thing to get something new. Like a brand new car that has a built-in maintenance plan. Because obviously you still pay for it, but it's built into the price. But it might not be really a bad thing to do to get a brand new car. But if it's a car that you're gonna, it's just a car, like you work from home, or you have your own business at home, or you don't really need it every day, then you can look at other options. Because for me, like, not that I don't like new cars, but I always look for cars that are still under service or maintenance plan. Say they're going towards the end, so then you can drive it, say for 6 to 12 months. If there are issues, you can pick them up, quickly get that fixed. But the price will be significantly lower. But then again, it also depends on affordability. I mean, if you can afford a brand new car,
by all means.
But like it's just those questions that you need to ask yourself. But most importantly, do your research, talk to people. Just check what will work for you. Like for that period when you have that car, if it's gonna really meet your needs. Yeah.
Parting shots, Brady?
I would say shop around, and shop around.
Well, guys, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you for joining us for our second installment of Parking with Parks automatically. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to notify you of the future updates. As a complimentary, we're going to give Bra AB the complimentary ticket to wash his car for free. And make sure that if you need anything, leave your details on the comment section. Parking with Parks automatically.